Hi, everybody. This is GM John Fedorowicz for ICC's continuing recap coverage of the 2016 Gashimov Memorial. Round 5 saw a lot of action with 4 decisive games in the 5 games. Round 6 was a little different. I would have thought coming off the day off that the players would have come out spoiling for a fight, but I guess the opposite was true. But the games, even though all drawn, still were not for lack of fighting. So my first choice is the Safarli-Caruana game. I have to talk about Caruana's results so far. Had 4.5 out of 5 entering the round 6. Looks like Fabiano's on another hot roll. 4.5 out of 5 against in a tournament like this is very impressive. And with his 6th-round draw over Safarli, that would give Fabiano an incredible performance rating of 29.79, and 5 out of 6 holding on to clear first in the tournament and trying to run away from it, but not so easy because Giri is holding well also with 4.5 out of 6 and a performance rating of 29.18, not shabby at all. And Karjakin is behind them in a distant third. So let's go over this game and see what happens. I think that one thing what happens is Fabiano is the Caruana is that when he's black, he doesn't press as much, and I think that dictates good tournament strategy, and especially when you're in first place, why go crazy? He still has a couple of whites remaining, and he can see if he could do some damage with that, and see if he can win this tournament as a clear winner. So Safarli D4 move 1. E6 from Fabiano. Sometimes we're used to seeing sharper things, but I think in his tournament position you could expect a Nimzo Indian or a Queen's Indian type position, just to get a position against Safarli. Safarli's not having a good tournament with only 2.5 out of 6. So, but even though you're playing against a tail ender, it doesn't mean that the tail ender is going to roll over. The tail ender is still a very strong GM. And you can't take liberties. And A3 is one of my favorites, known as the Petrosian variation. The idea is to stop bishop E4, and when knight C4 happens, start to try to play for E4. Nowadays, black has found a lot of different ways to defend it, so it's under control as far as black is concerned. G3 is the other variation that we see a lot of. So bishop A6, my personal preference nowadays is to go here and to take back with a knight, and then you get some position. Sometimes G6 going for a Grunfeld type of position is possible, and at other times it could be an exchange with the hanging pawn position. Both are absolutely reasonable for black. In addition to that, it's possible to take back with a pawn and get a position similar to Tartakova variation, but usually white will fianchetto, and that's the difference. In a Tartakova variation, white does not have the opportunity for pressure on this diagonal. So bishop A6, I played this one. Usually the one I played, and the one where I lost my most famous Kasparov game, after queen C2, C5, he played D5. And those types of Benoni positions, I used to think that black was good at getting good activity, but nowadays they just seem to favor white. So Fabiano goes bishop A6. It lures the queen out to C2, and then you go back to bishop B7 so that there's no E4 immediately. Knight C3, threatening E4 immediately, and C5 is the usual reply. You don't exactly get into Sicilian type positions unless black plays knight C6. Usually black will reply after E4, pawn takes, knight bishop C5, and that's what Fabiano does. If knight C6, we can get into some Sicilian type positions like this, hedgehogs, and I think that these types of positions, not king E7 of course, bishop E7, rook D1, and white with the Maroczy bind setup,